Hey there, Bry Guy here with Graham, and welcome to Pixels Refreshed. There's been like a bunch of trailers that have dropped recently, and Graham and I haven't had time to work on to look at any of them. So I thought, hey, why don't we take a look, see what we got, and yeah. Anyways, so the first one up is Elden Ring. Do you have any thoughts on this before we go into it?
I actually really haven't done much research on this game lately. I don't follow it very closely. I honestly barely remember the initial announcement trailer, so it's good to see the actual gameplay trailer now because I see what's been in development since E3. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. So yeah. Anyways, I'm excited. I love the Souls games personally. I played all of them. So, have you played any of them?
I actually haven't played any of them,
Oh my
no.
goodness. So yeah, I mean,
I haven't had the time to.
I've been playing since I got the Demon Souls Special Edition. It was kind of a funny story because uh, it had just come out and no one had heard of it. And I was working at EB Games at the time, or equivalent to GameStop in the US. And someone came in and they were like, "Can I get that Demon Souls game?" And I'm like, "Did we get it or whatnot?" I'm like, "I didn't even know. I didn't even heard about it." And then I pulled it down and get him a copy, and we had one more special edition, and it was like $100. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll pick it up." So I picked it up and brought it home, and then like my whole house loved it. My roommate Joel broke my PS3 playing it, and he didn't pay for it to be fixed. He played like 100 hours of it while I went away for the summer. When I came back, my PS3 was broken, and then yeah, that was kind of a
How did that
he
happen?
killed. Well,
Curious.
the PS3 is all died. So there's two theories. Either the solder, the some people say it's debunked that the solder, because they had to use lead-free solder, it cracked, and then people would essentially, the motherboard was upside down, and the GPU CPU would gradually lose contact with the motherboard. So if you heated it up, the solder melted. And the other theory is that the capacitors weren't capable of handling it. So at a certain point in time, the capacitors blow. So there's two theories. I think the capacitors one is the reigning one, but I've seen a lot of X-rays of PS3s that showed the solder cracks as well. So I think both of them were a problem. But anyways, they all of the big fat PS3s died eventually. Most of them didn't last past a year. But anyways, that is my story. I played Souls 1. I didn't finish 2. It's the only one I haven't finished because I didn't consider it a Souls because Hideki Miyazaki didn't work on it, and
Mhm.
it didn't feel like a Souls game to me. Whereas like 1 I played through like crazy, and 3 I played, and Bloodborne and Sekiro, I played the whole series. So anyways, I'm excited for this. I don't typically watch trailers for these things. If I know it's a game I'm going to play, I typically just play the game when it comes out. But I'll make an exception so that we can get a technical insight, because I'm curious how much the fact that they're still releasing this on PS4 and Xbox One is going to hold this back. Anyways, without further ado, let's hop over and get into it.
Peggy 16.
Hello, everyone.
Maybe I'll
Thank you for
skip
taking the
past
time to
the
join us today
gameplay, blah blah, and get right into the.
in the lands
Okay. So, what are your thoughts right away?
Discord compression was kind of compressing it.
Oh,
Now it's processing better, but
it'll take a second, but yeah.
uh,
I think there's more
your system
foliage than there was
will
traditionally.
activate its
yeah.
rest
I'm
mode.
wondering, it looks a bit more open than Souls games traditionally are. I think it's supposed to be more of an open, but that's definitely dropped the qualities. Like, these look like billboards, these trees in the
Hmm.
distance. So I'm curious what their LOD system is for distant tree objects. For those that don't know, often what happens with games is with distant LODs, they're just a flat picture. They're not
Yeah.
they're not actually the tree,
Geometry.
and then when you get
Head over to
closer, they
Soul
gradually
Core.
turn into a version with geometry, and then even closer. You can see the pop in range there is about, there's a layer of pop in as you get probably within, I don't know, 300 meters of it, be my
Hmm.
guess. They're trying to get a like Shadow of the Colossus like vibe here with the background, but it doesn't feel like it has enough atmospheric perspective. Does it to you?
No, because of the I don't know, the atmosphere in the scene feels very yellow, and I feel like that lighting should also reflect the atmospheric fog.
Yeah, that's
So
what I was
maybe
thinking. This should be.
feels like there's like a weird split between the terrain and the skies because that atmospheric fog is like just gray and not actually matching the lighting of the scene.
Yeah, exactly. So you get this kind of gray where you have so much orange and yellow, but none of it's really
Yeah.
carrying into the buildings. You would kind of expect a certain amount of that to wash over the entire distant background.
Mm-hmm.
That's typically how atmospheric fog works. Yeah, some pretty serious pop in going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm getting compression too. Let's see if I. Maybe it's just the stream they released because they were streaming and quality might not be great.
Okay.
Uh, I think that like I guess the scale has kind of made the assets all like a little worse even than Souls 3 in my memory. Fire effects not bad.
No.
Looks like they're
Particles
using
are pretty good.
particles are usually good in Souls games. Are we getting any screen space reflections? I think we're getting a little bit of screen space.
Yeah. Either it's screen space.
I don't know.
I think it's screen space and cropped inwards, so you don't actually see the fading.
It is doing the fire, or at least
Yeah.
you could see some of the light of the fire reflected in it. So,
Yeah.
but it's not like a clear mirror-like reflection that we're getting on it.
No.
It's definitely not ray trace. It's definitely screen space, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe even cube maps. Okay. Hello. The wind system seems all right.
Yeah, the windows does look pretty good.
In the grass, it looks pretty good too. Are we getting deform? Yeah, seems to be some kind of deformation when you walk through it.
Like the grass density is a little bit low.
Yeah. Well, maybe on PC you could ramp it up or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or there'll be a mod to ramp it up even if there isn't the ability to ramp it up. It's kind of interesting. It's like a big ball bag eye. It kind of reminds me. It's like a much further stretch of in all of the Souls games. They have the big knight. It's like a big round knight. So I'm wondering if this is like associated with that somehow. It's like a pop person.
Some of the cape physics look a bit weird on the older clipping too.
It's like stiff and then soft. It's like
Yeah.
fluctuating between the two. It's kind of interesting because the tree animation looks good here. If you look at the distant ones, it just looks like it's pulling weird.
Yeah.
So it's like it looks decent on the close trees, but whatever they're doing to approximate it on distant trees is a bit strange. See, this is
running on like a proprietary engine or
I'm pretty sure it is. Well, they've almost always used their own engine. So this is what we were talking about earlier. This is what's supposed to happen. So when you have this much color in the sky, the atmospheric perspective, this purplish color that's everywhere is washing over things the more distant they get. So you see the actual color of the objects when they're close to the screen, but as they get further and further away, you lose that. And because there's so much atmosphere, there's literally more particles of air that the color gets neutralized by whatever the main light source is as it gets further because you're looking through more particles of air. And this is the way that it's supposed to be, so it was weird that it wasn't working that way in the previous scene. Looking out a bit too long here. I guess they're just trying to show the vastness of the map, but
yeah.
And is populated by
the first time a game did that, it blew my mind, and now it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, another game. Like, this is actually the last thing that I'd want to see from a Souls game. And this is kind of like the question with games like this. Is it better to have like a tight labyrinth, or is it better to have a big, vast open world? And I guess it depends what they do with the space and how much storytelling they do with the space. Because
the location of crafting materials.
oh
dangerous
no.
enemies.
So this is going to have much more crafting in it than Souls games previously had. Interesting. What the? That's kind of cool.
Spirit springs can be used while on horseback.
Some frame rate drop as it was loading in. You can see it right here, right on the fall down. I don't know how much. Looks like it's targeting 60, but then as soon as so this would almost certainly, that frame drop there would almost certainly be loading. So as it's streaming in new assets, then it's actually the hard drive, not the GPU or the CPU, that would be slowing that down. It could be the CPU if it was decompressing the assets that was slowing it down.
While on horseback
But
to launch high into the air. This allows for stress-free traversal of areas with a great deal of verticality.
kind of interesting. I like that it's like a more supernatural-ish world.
That lightning bloom and lighting look pretty good.
Yeah,
I
it
would
does.
say.
It's kind of interesting because it feels to me like they're using the additional power to go wide. So they're keeping the graphics level kind of at the base of Dark Souls 3 and instead just giving you much more space to do things in.
Yeah.
Which is, the kind of question. Some games we'll see by the end of this generation be open world and look much better, but earlier on you can kind of make compromises like this.
The carriage over there is carrying treasure. An opportunity too good to pass up.
Oh, carrying treasure.
We'll prepare for combat with some item crafting.
Oh no.
Using materials
I can't
found
watch
in the
this.
Yeah.
Okay, so they got some of the stealth stuff that was in Sekiro, and they're bringing that back a little bit more full force. Makes sense, given the space. It's kind of weird, because if you played the Demon Souls remake, this kind of looks worse than the Demon Souls remake. But, I mean, it was much less open world.
Stance can be broken with heavy strikes, such as when attacking from above. A variety of unique attacks can also...
It's kind of weird when it's like, what do you think seeing this?
Yeah, I don't know. This feels very like, hate to say it in some spots. It's like very late last gen, I would say.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a next gen game, to be honest.
Well,
Just
when
some of the textures and some of the
I'm looking at this rock here, and it's like, compared to what we're seeing with Nanite and Unreal 5, Unreal 5, this is weak. It's like, you can see that, like, it's not even mapping correctly. The texture here, you can see this seam here where the texture map isn't even looking very great. There's no tessellation or...
Again, it is supposed to be like a somewhat stylized game, but
Yeah,
we couldn't really use Nanite for that unless you sculpted everything, and the whole texturing workflow with that would be a nightmare to do.
yeah.
But I feel like even if it is stylized, it could be executed better. Like the texture resolution just looks kind of slow.
In
Yeah.
more
Snapping at
perilous
assets,
situations,
perfect.
you can summon spirits to
It's kind of
assist
cool. You
with
can summon
combat.
spirits and stuff. It's
Yeah.
always neat when they have, like,
Spirits vary greatly in type.
lots
so
of
we
special
look forward to
spells and
players
stuff, even though when I play
experimenting
Souls games, I
with
rarely ever
personal
use them.
favorites.
I wonder what their asset limit is, because when they're making it and they're like creating a performance target, they're going to be seeing what their peak unit count is, and then sometimes the visuals are determined by how many characters they know will be in a given space, or how many enemies. Typical Souls challengers.
Online multiplayer can also be enjoyed with players from other
Oh,
worlds.
interesting.
From cooperative to PvP and invasions.
They do this in the Souls games all the time. You can warp people in to help you, or you can have people come into your world to attack you.
Okay.
It'd be probably easier to lose them in this one. If someone warped in to attack you, you could just kind of like run anywhere and see what that's like. That fall would break any person's legs in real life. Magic legs. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Deadly creatures stalk this forest, so we'll use stealth.
Lot of shimmering in the shadows. So you see it like in the shadows here that it's like literally clipping in and out everywhere. It's not very stable.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish they didn't go more open with Elden Ring, but that's my personal stance. I've never had a problem with the structure of Souls games. If I wanted to play Assassin's Creed, I'd play Assassin's Creed, and I don't want to play Assassin's Creed.
This area. We'll take it on with the help of our co-op partner.
Nice. They had a couple cool fights like this in Sekiro. So I think that I'd love to see like more environment destruction. That would be pretty cool if they were like just running through trees and taking them down as they were coming at you. Because one of these things, if you sacrifice the visuals a bit for size, it's better if you also make the world more tangible. Like, I feel like Breath of the Wild's good for that. It's like the art styles covers for a lot of the tech failings, but the world interactions in Breath of the Wild are pretty amazing, especially in terms of like physics and like chasing fish onto the shore and like literally cutting down most trees and everything. So it's like I haven't seen that much in terms of world tangibility here. Like I haven't seen you cutting down any trees or anything. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I just haven't seen it yet. So if you have something where like an enemy is like literally tearing through the earth or doing really cool stuff with it, then it kind of excuses visual compromises. Like the shadow.
Oh yeah, the
That's
cascade maps.
that's
Yeah,
not great.
no.
This particle's nice. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's not like extreme. If you play the Demon Souls remake, like
Catacombs,
they went
caves,
nuts
mines,
with they actually like
laboratories
simulated
to be
wind
found
everywhere.
while exploring.
So like legit paths of wind and how they would flow and stuff. So it kind of makes this seem like a big step back because what they do with particles is
Bosses.
pretty amazing in the Demon Souls remake. But that's Blue Point, right? So it's like
Hmm.
it's kind of one of these weird things because I feel like where the Japanese developers excel at is art direction, and where the Western developers exceed at is tech. And there's a few that are both. Like I'd say Capcom's pretty good at both. But
Hmm.
the vast majority of it, it's like you see really great art direction come out of the Japanese developers, but it's like when I see this, I'm not seeing the same level as tech as we're seeing in a lot of other games. Like this to me looks very, I don't know. It looks slightly worse than Demon
Look,
Souls than Dark Souls 3.
yeah.
Physics on that chandelier. Sorry, I gotta see this again. Just like bouncing around. Uh, it looks like it's made out of like foam.
Like plastic.
Yeah, like plastic. I mean, I'm still probably gonna love the hell out of this game. I'm not trying to rip on it that much, and it's like, I don't know. When they announced Bloodborne and they showed the first trailers for Bloodborne and it showed what PS4 can do, like that was really good. They had
Hmm.
crazy like fur simulation and stuff like that in Bloodborne, and I'm not seeing the same level of like even like look at how twitchy this grass is. Like what the heck's going on here? Do you see this? It's
It's
like
just yeah.
it's literally like
Doesn't make sense.
shuddering.
Greetings.
Be the grass is shivering because she's scary or something.
Yeah, I know. That's it. It's definitely not a technical glitch. It's like shivering crazy grass. Oh my gosh, she has a
Offer you an
what do you think happened in here?
I don't know. I don't know the
Did she
story.
give up her eye to have some magic
We've
power?
reached Stormvale Castle.
See, this is kind
A
of cool.
large-scale dungeon
Yeah.
which connects seamlessly.
Okay, what do you notice? I see a couple things right away.
It's
A
loading.
large-scale
The
dungeon
stream is
which
kind
connects
of loading. It's
seamlessly
very
with
low
the
bit rate right
surrounding
now.
Oh, no.
region.
The sky looks a bit strange. I wonder if you can see what I'm seeing there.
You pause it so it like loads.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, ready?
It's still loading.
No, it's still loading. You can't see that.
Yeah.
What is
We've
going-
reached Stormvale Castle.
I think there's like a
Is it blurry?
No, it's like there's a judder or something happening in the sky. I wonder if it's happening. It's operating at like a half refresh, or if it's like interpolating between. So let's say it's only doing the calculations every other frame or every 3 frames, and then it interpolates between positions. So there's just something juddery about the transfer deformation between the clouds. Okay.
Come over here, would you?
This texture is really bad.
You
I always think it's weird when they're mismatched when you have like this crazy dense texture right here and then this one was like nothing.
Blurry,
Same like over
yeah.
here. There's like something weird going on over there too.
I would advise against taking the main gate into the castle.
Uh,
It's tightly guarded.
Some of the ground textures as well look very, very crunchy. You know, it's unrealistically bumpy.
So I'm seeing something. What do you think with this hay here?
I think it's just like an alpha on like a slightly like.
Is it just a normal?
mesh.
I'm not even
I
sure. It
think
might just be
so.
because it doesn't even look like. So this is kind of the thing where ambient occlusion would cover the transitions, and it's not right now. So it's like, and I'm not actually seeing much ambient occlusion here, or there's a little tiny bit here. It definitely seems like a screen space approach,
This
because
is quite like creating shadows. I don't think this is for this light on the ground.
it's a good question.
Right here.
I don't think it's creating shadows.
Gods don't know about it.
No,
it's
it's
not.
not. It's not casting shadows.
Undetected.
I don't know. I'm sure I'll love playing this game, but it doesn't. It feels last gen to me,
Yeah,
and not like peak of last gen, like
like mid
mid.
last gen.
Yeah,
One to open. But of course, I'd advise against
The story writing is probably pretty good. The
Probably.
storyline, that's good. Yeah.
well, yeah, with George R. R. Martin mixed with.
Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of funny because you have literally one of the a really good but very slow writer with the game developer with probably the best cadence of the last 10 years. Like, I can't think of any genre that's gotten more games out in the last 10 years than Souls. We had Demons, Dark, 1, 2, 3, Sekiro, and Bloodborne, all in like the
The
last
main
10
route seems
years.
risky, so we'll try entering through a back way.
So, interesting. Kind of that move there that would have saved my butt so much in Demon Souls. Because in Demon Souls there was tons of times like that where you have to get close to hurt them, and it would have been nice to attack them from a distance. Yeah, I don't think any of these points are casting shadows. So it's like
No.
if you look here, the guard as it comes up, it's only the main skylight that's casting a shadow. You can see his shadows casting this way. Even when they're near the light, right? Your shadow's casting this way. So we're having I'm curious what their lighting system is. It could just be baked, primary direction light, and then nothing else has shadows. So none of the points would have shadows. It's like even this light here is there's no shadows being cast. So as you come through here, you would be seeing like a shadow cast off of this, and there's nothing. It's like
Yeah.
just kind of shadowless.
Extra care should be taken when moving through dungeons, as visibility and terrain differ from when in the open. We hope players enjoy getting a feel for the different types of areas and coming up with suitable strategies for each.
Oh. Crazy. This is always kind of the fun things in some of the Souls games. You'd have like just some big monster walking around in space. You're like, I don't want to fall down there. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
Cool architecture, cool visual designs. Like I have to say the art direction is strong,
Really good.
but
Just
the
tech's
the
behind.
the tech is a little bit behind. I'm curious because it's like, Sekiro was published by I think it was Activision, and
No, it was it Sucker? It was Sucker Punch.
no,
What's that?
no, Sekiro. You're mixing it up with Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh my god.
Ghost of
Sorry.
Tsushima is Sucker Punch, and
Yeah.
Sekiro is FromSoft, but it was published by Activision. And I wonder when you're getting publishing with someone, whether I guess whenever I've dealt with publishers in the past, they just let you work on whatever you were working on before. They don't implement engine, but it's like in this case, it might have been really good to borrow some engine tech from. Activision's got some pretty crazy. I don't know if they're working with them again though. I don't know who's publishing this because a lot of their games have been Bandai Namco. A lot of their games have been. Demon Souls and Bloodborne was Sony, and then there have to be a lot of people that offered to buy FromSoft. To be honest,
Yeah.
the hair is very. You can see it's probably just. What do you think? It's just alpha textures.
Hair
Not-
cards, yeah.
Yeah, hair cards. Yeah, like that's definitely hair cards on that too.
I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me. If they're the main console they're trying to appeal to is PS5, I don't know why they're still going with such last gen tech if they're trying to.
Well, it's just when they announced it, right? Because this game was announced like 5
Yeah.
years ago or 6 years ago, so there's just going to be so much legacy tech mixed in.
Ruler of Stormveil,
The weirder thing is because Bluepoint did the Demon Souls remake, there's already a better looking Souls game. And that's a weird position to be in when you have one of your own franchise being bested by someone else, right? It's just a strange position.
mighty dragon. Thou art a true born.
I don't know. The thing is, though, if they were going to
Lend me thy strength.
You could say it. If they were going to what?
Appeal to like a newer console generation. They knew this game was gonna take years to make. I don't know why they could have just done like a weird
Shifted their
workflow
tech
and have
midway?
all the art. Yeah, just shift the tech
Well, it is
midway.
shipping on PS4 and Xbox One X as well, and they at the time had no idea that PS5 would be selling as well as it is,
Oh, that's
right?
true,
So, oh my gosh, how many arms is that?
yeah. No, those plot physics are a little bit.
This is a pretty cool design, actually.
Yeah, the character is pretty cool though.
Sick.
I am the lord of all that is golden.
Can you imagine, like, they could do so many moves that you would never be able to do in terms of, like, flipping swords between various parts of them and stuff. See, this environment is probably the best looking environment I've seen. It's like, they probably nested you, they, like, narrow you down into a space so that they can spend a lot more resources making these kind of areas look nicer. That's a nice wind effect around them, too.
Yeah.
Oh, the light coming over the side of it was... So they do have some pretty decent... And was that bloom or volumetric light? What do you think?
Probably just bloom. I would
Probably
say.
just bloom. Oh, sick. I want a big spirit sword. Oh, see, they don't show you how he gets the dragon head on his arm. That's sweet. See, that's a cool design, but
The VFX are really nice, I would say.
they are. It would be. I feel like by PS5 though, you would expect these flowers to be like trampled and stuff. Like
Mhm.
particles are good though. There we
Hands off.
go. So, I mean, there's some really cool stuff there. I definitely think the game looks good. Like, it looks like an absolute blast to play. I do think that it's a bit burdened from some last gen tech. And I'm curious. I'm curious if it's just their engine. Like, maybe they were still operating on the Souls 3 engine or the Sekiro engine, and
Yeah.
they needed to move. They needed to up their engine tools. Maybe they are for the next game after this. I don't know. Like, what do you think the big deficiencies in their engine are?
Um, I mean, they definitely have the. Actually, it's just a weird thing for me because they do have dynamic lighting in game. You can definitely tell because of the directional light, right? So they could have done like a repass and turned some of these point lights into like shadow casting lights, just to give it a little bit more,
They could have.
I guess, immersion.
They
But
could have probably
like
found
for
some
for
performance
actual
issues though.
release, that's true. Yeah, so optimization passes take absolute forever to do. So
You want
there is that.
if it's open world too, it's hard to account for how many light sources will come on the scene
Yeah,
unless you have a system that's already handling that for you. Like,
or like if you kind of proxied everything, so all of your like for example, campfire is just the same point light, and if you modify one point light, modifies all the other point lights. Or
yeah.
if they separate everything like that. I don't know.
Yeah, they could have like either I don't know, could they do a distance field around you and then make the lights within a
Distance
specific
fields
distance?
are pretty. Distance fields are pretty like. Not distance field. You mean like just like a radius.
Well, yeah, well if they did like let's say that you have 5 or 6 points that you can cast shadows on, right?
Yeah.
What would be the best technique to Okay, so for those who don't know, you have 3 different types of lights typically in your games. You have your sun, right? So you do a big directional light, which is just like you set a light in the sky, you point it in a direction. You could rotate it wherever you want, you point it wherever you want. And then you have 2 choices once you do that. You either bake it, which gives you indirect lighting on your objects, but that means your light source doesn't move. Your directional light can't move at that point. Or what you do is you don't have it baked, and then you can move it around. It costs a bit more performance, and the graphics look worse because you're not getting any of the indirect light. So then you have to find another way to create the indirect light. Then the other 2 types of lights you have are spots and points. Points are just like circles that you put in locations, and they emit light in a like bubble around it. And spots are like spotlights that you would get in a theater. They have a cone and they have a radius. And I guess the other type would be volumetric lights, which is like a light that has like a fog particle emitting from it, and it's like shooting out little particles to pick up in the light as it goes. And those are the different lights that you typically have. Now, when you're
You also
design,
count like a emissive materials as lights as well if you wanted to.
yeah, you could emissive materials. Well, depending on how you do them, because you can do emissive lights in several different ways as well. So you have kind of like these different ways that we can do lights in games, and but it looks like there's only one shadow casting light that I've seen in all of that footage, which is kind of disappointing.
The directional light.
The
Yeah.
directional light. So it's possible they did a directional with bakes just to get some indirect lighting on things, but then you lose all of every other light sources. Like when you have a torch up, if it's not casting shadows, it's like Silent Hill 2
Kind of
did
like
that.
immersion, yeah.
Silent Hill 2 did that on PS2, right? It's like, yes, it was cheating it in a lot of ways, but it's like they did this in Splinter Cell and things with like, yeah, it wasn't real. There's no bounce off of it, but it was effective in tricking you. And that's a critical thing. So I think the biggest things that I'm noticing in this that are kind of held back is some of the texture work, some of the lighting, and I don't know, anything else. I guess the LODs were a bit weak in some regards.
Yeah, in some physics, I would say, in terms of like cloth and hair, it looked a little bit off.
And where it succeeds for me is general art direction. I think the enemy
100%.
designs are really cool. The character designs, the armors are cool. Like
Animation's generally pretty good.
animation's really good. You don't really think about the animation except on distant trees. So, it's like, and that weird grass wigging out in the corner.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think that they did a really good job I think the art direction's well represented. And I think that From Software would benefit greatly from some help from Sony first party studios or from Activision's in-house studios like Call of Duty or whoever's publishing them. They should just ask for some tech help, I think. Or they should just knock on Capcom's door and say, hey, Capcom, you guys are pretty good with tech. Can you help us through some of these things? Because everything holding them back is technical, right? And it's kind of a shame to see. But I'm still going to love the heck out of this game. I think it looks awesome from a gameplay perspective. I'm excited. I'm a little skeptical of open world just because I don't typically look at Souls for my open world. I look at them for like a dense labyrinth. And I really like that kind of feel for a game, the interconnected Metroidvania feel. So I don't know how much is like 2 open world games that I've ever really loved in my life. And one of them was Breath of the Wild. So I don't even know what the other one is. I don't know. But any other final thoughts on this one?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, thanks, Graham. And anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video,